presence known to the world. The Taliban first entered the global stage, along with a massive contingent of Muslim militants, known as the Mujahideen or those who wage jihad, from the Middle East, Far East, Central Asia, Southeast Asia, North Africa, and East Africa, who from 1982 to 1992 were recruited and armed by the CIA to take part in a jihadist insurrection against the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan. With Saudi funding, the Mujahideen were sent to Pakistan, where, with the assistance of Zia al-Haq's fundamentalist regime, they were trained in terror tactics and indoctrinated with a militant combination of Shah Waliullah's religiopolitical ideology and Wahhabism's radical Puritanism, all under the supervision of the then CIA chief William Casey. The United States had long considered Wahhabism to be an important ally in the great game being played out against godless communism. In fact, to solidify Saudi support, the United States encouraged wealthy Saudis with intimate ties to the government and royal family, like Osama ibn Laden, to finance and oversee the insurrection in Afghanistan. Called freedom fighters by the CIA, and compared to America's founding fathers by President Ronald Reagan, the combined force of the foreign Mujahideen fighters and the Afghani and Pakistani religious students forced the Soviet army to pull out of Afghanistan. They also ushered in the collapse of the Soviet Union and the end of the Cold War. Their mission in Afghanistan accomplished, the triumphant Mujahideen took their Pakistani training, their Saudi fundamentalism, and their American weapons back to their home countries in order to launch their own jihad in places like Palestine, Chechnya, Morocco, and Indonesia. The Taliban returned to their homes in the Pashtun regions near the Afghanistan-Pakistan border to continue their religious education. And Afghanistan, abandoned by a United States flushed with victory in the Cold War, was left in the hands of lawless warlords who ran the country like competing mafia gangs, killing, torturing, and raping indiscriminately in their quest for control. In 1992, when the Taliban decided to reunite under the leadership of their spiritual teacher, Mullah Omar, and retake Afghanistan, this time from the hands of the feuding warlords, they were again supported by the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan. With the assistance of Pakistan's ISI Inter-Services Intelligence Agency, the Taliban secured their home region of Kandahar in 1993. 2 years later, they captured the Shiite city of Herat, and by 1996 they controlled the capital city of Kabul. With more than 3/4 of the country under their control, they then began a now infamous Wahhabization process throughout Afghanistan. All religious sites, Muslims, and non-Muslims alike, were destroyed like the Bamiyan and Mazar Sharif etc. Tobacco and coffee were outlawed. Men were compelled to grow beards and women were forced into seclusion. The country's substantial Shiite and Sufi populations were massacred. 9. Volume 8, pg. 132. 10. The term, Salaf, refers to the earliest few generations of the Muslims. Note of al-islam.org. 11. Caliph refers to the later generations that continued with the practices. Note of al-islam.org. 12. pg. 40, 1937 edition. Shares. Shias and colonialism. We always ask one another, why do Islamic countries lag behind other nations in the race for progress? What is the secret for advancement of America and Europe in the field of science and technology? We also ask, why is it that among all the Arab countries, Saudi Arabia lags behind in science and knowledge? We wonder all the more at its backwardness when we see that this country achieved independence earlier than other countries in this region and enjoys large number of Hajj pilgrim visitors every year. We cannot believe when we hear the Hajj pilgrims narrate that hungry and naked persons pursue them at every step. Why should we believe them? What happened to the oil wells that overflow in Dharan, Fawaz, Safena, and Rub al Khali? Where goes the large wealth gained from Hajj pilgrims from all over the world? However, when we go through the 5th issue of Riyat al-Islam, dated 15th Rabi, al-Awwal, 1380 AH, we cease to wonder, because if you know the cause of something, you are not surprised about it anymore. This magazine, published in Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, has made the cause clear. Indeed, some religious persons and journalists, who are the worst animals in the eye of Allah, can be seen in Saudi Arabia. Instead of improving the pitiable conditions of the millions of people living in a state of ignorance, poor health, and hunger, and instead of meeting the needs of the helpless inhabitants of Najd and Hijaz, who are exposed to the rigors of summer and winter, they make a show of the wealth of Saudi Arabs, who construct, amidst the nomadic huts of the nation, skyscrapers resembling those in Versailles and Kremlin. In this issue of Riyat ul-Islam, an article by Ibrahim Jaban was published. In that article, he has pronounced Islamic sects to be heretical. He also attacked the leaders of religious sects and mujahideen. But he did not take the trouble to ask the government where the billions of dollars earned from black gold oil have gone to. Why did the Rockefeller brothers exercise so much influence in Saudi Arabia? Why are all the profits of oil deposited in the accounts of Wall Street, while the poor of the country are in greater need? Jaban has severely condemned the rector of Al-Azhar University, Sheikh Mahmoud Shaltut, and mentioned unbecoming words about the religious leaders of Muslims. We reproduce below some of his slanderous remarks and propose to refute them. Jaban says, "The difference between us and the Shias is about the principles of faith, and this difference is the root of all differences." Thus, the writer formally admits that he does not believe in Allah, the Prophet and the Judgment Day. Because these are fundamentals of Shia faith, i.e., Tawhid monotheism, Risalat prophethood and Qiyamah Judgment Day, these principles have been published in thousands of Shia books, and this belief is announced from the top of the minarets of Shia masjids by saying, "There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger." It is no wonder that Jaban is disgusted with this belief, because his predecessors who thought like him hated Imam Ali, and condemned his beliefs, although his beliefs and religion were the same as those of his cousin, Muhammad, the seal of the prophets. Shias are real Muslims and believe Allah the Mighty and Sublime to be free from every defect. They do not subscribe to certain beliefs held by some sects of Muslims whom the Wahhabis consider to be the leaders of the Muslims. For instance, Shias do not say any of these. None of the acts of Allah is indecent, not even injustice, and he can throw the prophets into hell and send the polytheists to paradise. The length of Allah is equal to 7 spans of his own. Allah is made of flesh and blood. Allah wept so much on account of Noah's deluge that his eyes were injured, and the angels went to inquire about his health. Allah is like a handsome child. On Friday nights he mounts a donkey and arrives on earth and shouts from above the rooftops, "Is there anyone who wants to repent?" 2. Shias also do not ascribe things to the Holy Prophet which are against, contrary to the position and greatness of his prophethood. For example, that he continued to sleep till the time for his prayers lapsed, and that he made mistakes while offering prayers, or watched some Bedouin dancing, or listened to songs. 3. Jaban writes, "The Islam which Shias profess is nothing but an initiation of the deceptive Jews." 4. Yes. In Jaban's view, Shias are bad because they have not surrendered the lands to America, the real master of Israel and which brought it into existence. He dislikes the Shias because they do not provide funds and weapons to the Jews to massacre Muslims and oppress Palestine. 5. Shias do not give their land under the control of America so that they may establish a secret military base to support Israel. Shias did not fight against Algeria in collaboration with France. Jaban writes, "If we stand in need for political unity so that we may overthrow political colonialism, this aim does not necessitate that we place ourselves in the strait of religious colonialism and consider religion to be the means of unification, because the gaps can be filled in only when there are people by our side who share our objects and afflictions and persevere." The only object of Jaban is to obey the orders of the Aramco Oil Company. And he wishes that all Muslim nations from the east to the west should obey this company. Anyone who does not obey the orders of this company is expelled from the pale of Islam. If the object of the writer is not submission to Aramco, on what account has he accused the Shias of being infidels and heretics? Did not the Shias fight against the colonial British in Iraq in 1920, and were not thousands of them killed? Did they not campaign against the French in Lebanon and consequently their houses were transformed into ruins? Did they not rise as one man against the attack on Port Said in 1956, and were not a number of them belonging to Najaf Ashraf etc. killed? 6. History bears witness to the fact that the Shias have always fought against crime, injustice, and despotism, and their literature and verses are replete with instances of campaigns against colonialism and despotism. Their books on jurisprudence and principles of faith have declared campaigns against the tyrants and the despotic rulers to be obligatory. Of course, the Shias do not hold the same belief as that held by Jabin and those in charge of Riot al-Islam magazine, who say, no matter how unjust the governors and the rulers may be, it is not permissible to rebel against them. 7. Jabin addresses Sheikh Shaltut, the rector of Al-Azhar University, saying, fear Allah and do not expose yourself and the Islamic countries to danger, for falsehood cannot be fought against with falsehood, and that religious hypocrisy cannot be eliminated by means of political hypocrisy. According to Jabin, Sheikh Shaltut is a liar and a hypocrite. His offense is that he has initiated the nation to fraternity and unity, so that Muslims may form a united front against colonial powers and manipulative businesses and protect their economy. Yet, he himself is a true believer while his goal is to destroy the strength and divide the Muslims so that the ground may be prepared for the expansion of Marxism or Zionism, and that they will bring the Arab and Muslim countries under their sway. The object of Sheikh Shaltut is to bring Muslims closer to one another, and to achieve this end he had included the study of Shia jurisprudence in the syllabus of the Al-Azhar University. He did not do this for the sake of the Shias or to propagate the Shia faith, nor did he do this to attract the attention of Najaf or to develop friendship with the ulamas there. He did this for Al-Azhar, Islam, and the Muslims. Sheikh Shaltut took this decision because he possessed religious zeal and was sincere to the Muslims. However, Jabin has spoken for the sake of dollars and to sell the Islamic countries, and has cunningly adopted the method of creating religious differences. May Allah curse the hypocrites. Jabin writes, a man like Sadiq, the liar of the Shi'as, and one who follows his methods and pays attention to him or considers to be correct all or some of the foolish narrations ascribed to Sadiq, the liar of the Shi'as, becomes an infidel, and it is obligatory to curse and persecute him. O Lord, subject to your curses and wrath the infidels who have become so impudent as to take liberties with your saints and the supporters of the religion and progeny of your prophet, and ascribe falsehood to them. O Lord, subject to your wrath the Aramco Company, the Zionist group, the colonial rulers and their supporters. If Jabin calls Imam Jafar as Sadiq a liar, God forbid, there is nothing surprising about it, because previously the great prophet of Islam was also accused falsely. The holy prophet used to ask the people of Mecca, say, there is no God but Allah, so that you may achieve salvation. Abu Lahab however threw stones at him and said, do not give ear to his words, he is a liar. Our time is like the time of the holy prophet, and Imam Jafar is Sadiq is like his grandfather, the holy prophet and Jabin is like Abu Lahab. Of course, the Almighty Allah has announced in the Holy Quran, O Prophet, and if they reject you, so indeed were rejected before you messengers who came with clear arguments and scriptures and the illuminating book 3. 184. Imam Jafar Sadiq disseminated the interpretations of the Holy Quran and the traditions of his grandfather with logical reasoning and proof. However, those who are the enemies of Allah and the Holy Quran say about him the same things, which they said about his grandfather. Ibn Hajar writes in his Sawaiq al-Murika, the people quoted so many doctrinal matters from Imam Jafar as Sadiq that the caravan of knowledge carried them from place to place, and these branches of learning became well known in all the cities. Shahristani writes in his book, Al-Milal wa Nihal, Imam Jafar Sadiq possessed vast knowledge in the fields of religion, literature, philosophy and piety. Abu Hanifa was asked, who is the greatest jurist? He replied, Imam Jafar is Sadiq. A. Traditions quoted about the excellence, greatness and knowledge of Imam Jafar is Sadiq, and the services rendered by him are too many to be counted. His only offense in the eyes of the enemies of Allah and his Prophet is that his knowledge was based on the Holy Quran, and he always discussed matters relating to Islam. Hence, attacking him means attacking the Holy Quran, and refuting him amounts to refuting Islam. At the end of his article, Jabin writes, the Wahhabi ulama should know that they can perform the Islamic mission only when they have removed the traits which bring them near to Islam. These lines inform us the secret intention of this dangerous writer. He wishes that the small number of Shias who have survived in Hijaz and Qatif should be eliminated. Hence, it is incumbent upon every Muslim, especially upon the Shia ulama, especially upon the honorable scholars of Najaf and Iran, to express their serious objections against this article, by whatever means possible, and protest against the management of the magazine and those who have allowed them to publish this article. They should call them to account as to why they allowed the publication of such venomous material. They should thus forestall the virulence of colonial Zionism and the plots of Marxism and Aramco, which are spreading falsehood and dissensions in the name of faith in Islam. I wrote to the scholars of Najaf and Qom and apprised them of the position, and they, no doubt, realized its significance and performed their duty. The ulama of Jebel Amil, in turn, wrote letters of protest to King Saud and also visited the Saudi embassy in Beirut and expressed their resentment in the dailies and religious meetings. This expression of aversion should continue till the respective Saudi authorities restrain the hands of the transgressors and take necessary steps to prevent the evil consequences of such acts. However, there is no denying the fact that Allah is with the righteous. 1. Fighters in holy wars. 2. A Wahhabi scholar asked me as to where from I had quoted these words. When I informed him as to the source, he said, "Although the writer of this book is a Sunni, he is not a Wahhabi and a Hanbali, we do not rely on him." I was, therefore, obliged to find out some other evidence. I then saw the above sentences in the book Risalat al-Aqadat al-Wasitiyah by Ibn Taymiyyah, who is considered by the Wahhabis to be worthy of attention. He writes, "Every night, when a part of it has passed, our Lord comes and says, 'Is there anyone who may make a request to me so that I may grant his request? Is there anyone who may ask me a question so that I may give him a reply? Is there anyone who may seek forgiveness so that Allah may forgive him?'" Then Ibn Taymiyyah writes, "This has been agreed to unanimously." In the same book he also writes, "People will be thrown into hell continuously and hell will say, 'This is not sufficient. Throw more.' Then Allah will put his leg into the hell and the hell will say, 'That will do. That will do.'" Then he writes, "This has been agreed to unanimously." Author. 3. The position of the Messenger of Allah is far higher than what we see in the most authentic history and hadith books of all al-Sunnah. These same calumnies are arrows in the quiver of the enemies of Islam that they continue to throw every now and then and keep on insulting Islam and the Prophet. Some examples of calumnies are as follows. Narrated Abu Hurairah. The Prophet led us in the Zuhr prayer, offering only 2 rak'ats and then ended it with taslim, and went to a piece of wood in front of the mosque and placed his hand over it. Abu Bakr and Umar were also present among the people on that day but dared not talk to him about his incomplete prayer. And the hasty people went away, wondering whether the prayer has been shortened. Among the people, there was a man whom the Prophet used to call Dhul Yudain, the long-armed. He said, "O Allah's Prophet, have you forgotten or has the prayer been shortened?" The Prophet said, "Neither have I forgotten, nor has it been shortened." They the people said, "Surely, you have forgotten, O Allah's Apostle." The Prophet said, "Dhul Yudain has told the truth." Narrated Hisham. The Prophet heard a man reciting the Quran in the mosque and said, "May Allah bestow his mercy on him, as he has reminded me of such and such verses of such surah, which I missed modifying the verses." Sahih Bukhari, Kitab Fadhail al-Quran, Chap 33, Volume 2, pg. 193, published Bulaq, Egypt. Sahih Muslim, Kitab Salat al-Musafirin, Bab al-Amr by Tahid al-Quran. It is mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, Kitabu al-Idain, and Sahih Muslim, Kitab Salat al-Idain that Aisha says, "It was the day of Eid, and the black people were playing with shields and spears. So, either I requested the Prophet or he asked me whether I would like to watch the show. I replied in the affirmative. Then the Prophet made me stand behind him and my cheek was touching his cheek and he was saying, 'Carry on, O Bani Arfida,' till I got tired. The Prophet asked me, 'Are you satisfied? Is that sufficient for you?' I replied in the affirmative and he told me to leave." Narrated Ar Rabi, the daughter of Muawi ibn Afra. After the consummation of my marriage, the Prophet came and sat On my bed as far from me as you are sitting now, and our little girls started beating the tambourines and reciting elegiac verses mourning my father who had been killed in the Battle of Badr. One of them said, among us is a prophet who knows what will happen tomorrow. On that the prophet said, leave this saying and keep on saying the verses which you had been saying before. Sahih Bukhari, Volume 7, Kitabun Nikah, Bab Zarab Daf. Narrated Abdullah ibn Umar. One day when Zayd ibn Amr ibn Nufail passed by the Holy Prophet and Zayd ibn Haritha. The two of them were eating food. They invited Zayd also. Zayd said, O nephew, I do not eat anything which you slaughter in the name of your stone idols. I eat none but those things on which Allah's name has been mentioned at the time of slaughtering. Sa'id says that after that the Holy Prophet was never seen eating from that which had been sacrificed for the idols. Musnad Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Volume I, Trail. No. 1648. Majma az-Zawaid, Volume 9, pg. 417. Sahih Bukhari, Kitab az-Zabaheh, Bab ma ziba al-Nisab was Asnam, Volume 3. Previously scholars used to read such calumnies, but now these things have come out from the pages of Sahih Bukhari. Musnad Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Majma az-Zawaid, Sirah ibn Hisham and Sirah ibn Ishaq and presented in Rida, Aslan's book, No God But God, which is published in various languages and circulated all over the world and even laymen are reading such things. It was, the chroniclers say, one of the hot days of Mecca when Muhammad and his childhood friend Ibn Haritha were returning from Taif. Muhammad accepted this explanation without comment and opened his bag of sacrificed meat. Eat some of this food, O my uncle, he said. But Zayd reacted with disgust, nephew, this is a part of those sacrifices of yours which you offer to your idols, is it not? Muhammad answered that it was. Zayd became indignant. I never eat of this sacrificial meat and I want nothing to do with them, he cried. I am not one to eat anything slaughtered for a deity other than God. The notion that a young pagan Muhammad could have been scolded for his idolatry by a Hanif flies in the face of traditional Muslim views regarding the Prophet's perpetual monotheistic integrity. Page 16. 4. Sheikh Abd al-Qadir Gilani. 470–561 the follower of Sheikh Junaid Baghdadi in Gnosticism and Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal in jurisprudence, is also known as Ghas al-Azam and Pirane-e-Pir. He writes in his book, Ghaniyatut Talibin. Shobi says that whoever loved Rawafid Shias loved the Jews because the Jews believe that imamate is restricted only to the progeny of Dawood and the Rawafid say that imamate is peculiar only to the descendants of Ali ibn Abi Talib. A. The Jews believe that jihad is prohibited till the advent of Masih Dajjal and the Rawafid also say that jihad is prohibited till there is a call from the sky announcing the advent of Mahdi. 5. Because in 2007, Shias under the leadership of Sayyid Hassan Nasrullah inflicted a stunning defeat to Israel and won over the masses in the Islamic world, and made them fearless of America and its ward, Israel, and gave confidence to the Palestinians. 6. Did not the Shia scholars and public participate in the campaign against the British and in the formation of India and Pakistan? 7. Al-Mazahab al-Ilamiyya from Abu Huraira, pg 155, 1st edition. Shares. The Sufyani Book. Cairo, more than 30,000 scholars and students of theology discuss and memorize the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet at the Al-Azhar University. From there, its scholars go to other countries and cities and invite people to the truth, the advancement of Islam and the unity of Muslims. In Cairo, the scholars have protected the people from devilish acts against the religion and the country, and make efforts for their unity and close relationship, and call upon them to be honest and obedient to the government. Cairo is the center of the Arab population and considers itself to be the guardian of the Arabs and the Arab cities, and endeavors to ensure that every Arab should benefit from the spiritual and material strength of those speaking the same language. In Cairo, Asian and African nations hold meetings against military bases and aggressive pacts and take pains to eliminate racial differences and tribal prejudices. In Cairo they meet to find out ways and means to fight against what is opposed to freedom and the freedom movements in Islamic countries. Lain this very Cairo, a book entitled, Abu Sufyan Sheikh Alumwayan was published after the occupation of Palestine by Israel and the invasion of Port Said. Orientalists and colonial ambitions. The colonial rulers were not content with looting wealth and provisions, sucking the blood of the nations, monopolizing markets, killing nationalist sentiment, and destroying the willpower to defend national heritage. They have attacked all that is sacred in Islam, obstructed our faith and beliefs, and presented our history and culture as defective. The path was trodden by those treacherous persons who received training in the school of cunning and deceit and undertook numerous efforts in drawing plans, plots and designs against various nations. The imperial powers have decided that before doing anything else they should stigmatize Islam and its history. They have decided to cast aspersions on the Quran, the Holy Prophet, and the Imams who are the fortress of the independence, freedom, and greatness of the Muslims. The first step they have taken in this regard is that they sent to the East certain individuals called Orientalists, and allocate special funds to them. They are sent ostensibly to study the language, history, and culture of the Arabs. In fact, these titles are meant to lull the nation to sleep, and their real object was to criticize and denounce Islam and to place the nations in disagreement with each other by creating hatred through their inauspicious and inhuman plans. Orientalists have carried out this great mission with a sincerity of purpose. They published hundreds of voluminous books and commented on the Holy Quran. They explained the verses of the Holy Quran, claiming that what they have said was based on scientific research and free discussions. These Orientalists have expressed their views on all aspects of the Holy Quran and have gone so far as to explain Huruf Muqatat. 1. They are of the view that Huruf Muqatat are codes to the names of some companions of the Prophet who had the Holy Quran with them. For example, Mim, M in the phrase, Alif Lam Mim, refer to Mughira ibn Shoba and the letter, Sin, S in the phrase, Yaa Sin, S refers to Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas and the letter, Ha, H in the phrase, Kaf Ha Ya Ain Sa'd, refers to Abu Huraira and the letter Nun, N in Surah Nun refers to Uthman and these persons had learnt the Holy Quran by heart. The Orientalists say that the Holy Prophet used to compel the people to accept Islam, too is mentioned in Surah Yunus. Will you then force men till they become believers? 1099. They say that the Holy Prophet forcibly acquired Zainab ibnt Jahash, the wife of his slave, Zayd. They also say God forbid that the Holy Prophet Muhammad was misguided because Allah says in the Holy Quran, did he not find thee wandering and direct thee? 93. 7. In this verse the Orientalists have translated the word, dalan, as being misled, although it actually means, being astonished. In short, the Orientalists have imputed these absurd meanings to Islam and unsuccessfully tried to defame it. 3. How ridiculous that the enemies of Islam and of the Holy Prophet who are ignorant of our religion and proud of themselves, should conduct research in our religious matters, and tell us all that is sacred for us, inform us about our history and teach us our culture. 4. After this, what will be the position of the companions of the Prophet and of what use will the Islamic jurists and historians be? What will be the value of what the philosophers and scholars have said? Should we forget all of them and learn matters relating to our religion and civilization from the Orientalists? The Orientalists are so evil-minded that they say Muhammad acquired his teachings from Christians and Jews. They also say that Muhammad worshipped idols with the polytheists. They further say, when the Holy Prophet was helpless, he considered his religion to be the religion of mercy and did not resort to bloodshed and pillage. However, when he saw some muhajirs and ansars around him, and had acquired wealth and strength, he forgot his prophetic mission and indulged in bloodshed and plunder. We seek the refuge with Allah. These are the accusations made by Orientalists. However, Islam and the Holy Prophet of Islam possess so much strength that even if all jinns and human beings, the Orientalists and colonial powers join hands, they cannot succeed in their mission. Colonialism and Hapnavi. Since all Muslims have understood their plot, the Orientalists did not succeed. They, therefore, decided to achieve their object by other means and were on the lookout for agents who should apparently be Muslims and Arabs, and should be ready to sell the religion and the Arabs for the money provided by Satan. When the colonial rulers saw that Hopnavi was for sale, they were glad to secure his services for tampering with Islam. They instructed him to abuse the leaders of Islam and prescribed to him the lines along which this was to be done. Hopnavi published these plans of the colonial power in his book entitled Abu Sufyan, Sheikhu 1 al-Umayyan. These days the colonial powers, through its agents, are spending a huge amount to weaken the defense line of the Shi, that is the institution of marja at the point of reference in religious law, because they have seen that it can become the source of a great revolution. Therefore, these agents have created such an atmosphere that the common people are straight away being affected by their propaganda. Sheikh Murtaza Ansari had already buried the Akbari ideology, spread by Mullah Amin Astarabadi, but efforts are being made to revive it. I am surprised at the one who cannot understand the basic point that during their respective times, the Holy Prophet and the Holy Imams were sole points of reference Maharaja, and the matter of Taqlid following is only related to the period of the major occultation of the Imam of the age A.T.F.S. This view is like the lamps of one's vision. For some they are alight and for some, extinguished. An Urdu couplet. Colonialists are also trying to create a sect among Shias that believes in the divinity of Ali, as the British agent, Humphrey has admitted in his book, Ideal Colonialism. Vilification of Imam Ali, A. Hopnavi speaks ill of Imam Ali, though he was the first person to accept the invitation of Islam and sacrificed his life for its progress. It was he who cheerfully suffered hardships for supporting Islam. It was he who kept company with the Prophet from the advent of Islam and helped him with his sword and his tongue from the very first moment of revelation. It was he who stood firm like a mountain in the battle of Uhud, and drove away those who attacked the Holy Prophet, whereas some prominent companions had fled. In the battle of Ahzab, all Muslims were trembling with fear of Amr ibn Abd Wud, but Imam Ali's heart was stronger than steel. His strike at Amr ibn Abd Wud was so valuable that the Holy Prophet said, Ali's strike on the day of Khandaq 5 is superior to all the acts of worship of men and jinns. When Khaybar could not be conquered by others, the Holy Prophet gave the standard to Imam Ali, the friend of Allah and his Prophet, who won the battle for Allah and the Muslims. Imam Ali, also fought against the polytheists